Hey bitches, welcome back to another episode of Confessionals. Today's episode is going to be a little bit more of a story time. I'm going to be a bit messy, but not really because everything that I'm going to tell, the personal stories that I'm going to share are all true. I will throw in the word allegedly with some stories because some stories were told to me by other people that I've met here in LA. But with my personal stories, oh God, it's two of them, and I'm gonna go into detail about both of them. These people are, one of them was very, very closely associated with high profile A-list celebrities. So that's one story, which I'm going to tell later in the podcast. But the first story has to do with somebody who has closer associations with D-list celebrities. He was not, he was in some show, some like soap at some point for a long time, but not really famous. Well known in certain circles, but not famous. Regardless, these two people were not the most pleasant to deal with. And I think things didn't turn out that bad because I protected myself. But if I had not protected myself, things could have gone south real quick, real quick. And I knew what was waiting for me when I moved here, and that there was going to be a lot of predators, a lot of false promises, and that it was going to be racist and misogynistic and all that stuff. Like, I already knew that it was going to be like that, but I never, you never really know something until you experience it. Like, in my head, I knew that it could be even worse than what I experienced. But yeah, it feels totally different once you're in that situation. And it also happens to me all so quickly. Like, as soon as I came to LA 2 months later, I already had representation, like acting representation. I was already auditioning for huge projects. For I auditioned for Blue Beetle. I auditioned for An Eugenio Derbez movie. I've auditioned for a bunch of other things like ABC stuff, like some smaller things, but also a lot of big stuff. And that came with playing the game. And sometimes I feel like I fumbled the bag in some of these situations, but I think I just prioritized protecting myself and like and keeping my integrity because these situations were just not I could not imagine my 18-year-old self coming here and hearing all these promises. And I think I would still be skeptical even as young as like 18, and I would feel in my gut that something was wrong, but I don't think I would have had the tools to play that mind game and to truly protect myself. So I'm very grateful for that I came here at 25 and I had my eyes on everything. I had my eyes on everything. I was pretty astute. But yes, today's episode is going to be more of a story time. It's going to be kind of juicy. I'm not going to say any names because I want to get in trouble. I'm not going to get in trouble, and I'm going to be using the word allegedly for some things because other stories that I'm going to share very briefly are stories that have been told to me by other people. So, yes, this is all allegedly, I guess, yeah, whatever. But yes, without further ado, let's get this episode started. I came to LA January 10th of 2021. And I had an Airbnb rented out already for 4 months, and it was in Larchmont Village. Very nice place. Everything was very cozy. I had done a year of research to know how the acting industry looked like, how it worked, what I needed. And everything was going pretty smoothly as soon as I got here. Within 2 weeks, on Facebook, I found a small artist doing a music video, and I was in a music video for a little bit. So I was eager to get my hands on creative stuff. And in that process, I was on Clubhouse. Clubhouse was huge during the pandemic. I've talked about it before. I do miss Clubhouse. I miss how messy it was. But anyway, you would find a lot of career oriented things on there, regardless of what field you were in. So there was a lot of acting rooms and a lot of people in the industry in those rooms. So if you got to speak or, put a picture of yourself, then your opportunities would broaden. So it was a good opportunity to be on there. And it was pretty easy. It was fairly easy to access these rooms that you wouldn't access otherwise in person or if the pandemic hadn't happened. So everything was going well with that. And in one of these rooms, I came across a coach, a person that taught acting. And I didn't really notice this person in this room because I was having a discussion uh with a manager, and this manager was a fucking bitch. It was a guy, like he was a fucking biatch, and I think he was criticizing something of mine, and I'm very open to criticism, but he was just outright disrespectful. So I was like yapping at him and basically just standing up for myself, very civil, whatever. And then some time passes, like a day or whatever, and this teacher, call him a teacher. I'm being careful with my words. This teacher reaches out to me and he's like, hey, I have an acting studio. You should drop by. We can have a Zoom call so you know that I'm not weird, that it's legit, whatever. So I look him up. I look up his IMDb. I Google him, and everything he seems to be saying is legit. It's all legit. So long story short, I end up meeting him on the Zoom call. Everything seems fine. And I don't get any weird feelings, but I'm obviously still being cautious, right? So I end up auditing his acting class, and I had never seen so many talented people in one room like that because I've been in acting classes in El Paso before, and in high school I did theater for a little bit, in middle school. So I got to witness a lot of what was available to me. And I had never seen what LA was like, what the scene was like. So when I audited this class, literally almost everyone was talented. It was insane. I was shook. I was sold on the class. And he called me after class. I was already home. And he's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love it. Like this sounds really great. Like would love to join your class." And he doesn't directly say, but he kind of insinuates that he just wants me that he'll let me just go for free. Like he never mentions a price or anything. And as he's pitching the class to me, he's telling me that he really believes in me, that he thinks I'm a star, that I am talented, that I am just the most beautiful thing to ever exist on the planet. So my opportunities are huge, and that I'm Latina, and that's huge. And this is when it gets a little weird. He starts telling me that he wants to invest, that he wants to buy my headshots, that he wants to, get me a nutritionist, take me shopping, all these things. Help me, he wants to help me get representation. And I'm asking him, I'm just like, why? Why would you do that? And he says, well, I just believe in you. Like, I believe in you and I know you're gonna make it, whatever. It gets fishy, but I know that this person does have some connections. Maybe not as much as they say they do, but this person still has some connections. And all I care about at this point is getting repped. Like I just want to have a manager and an agent so I can start auditioning. I don't really give a shit about all the other extra stuff. And I know that it's like once somebody tries to buy me, that's when things can get dangerous. So he's telling me all this stuff and I'm asking him questions. I'm like, what would you want in return for all this? Like, what is it that you want me to do? And then I asked him straight up like that and in that tone, like trying to sound genuinely curious, but also not so skeptical. And he tells me nothing, nothing. Like, I just really believe in you and I want to see you succeed, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So So I'm like, okay, we just drop it at that. And he he tells me that he wants to have lunch with me so I can because I hadn't audited his online class. I had only audited the in person. So he tells me he wants to have lunch with me so we can discuss more. And that same day, I can audit his online class. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. We'll probably have lunch and then I'll head home and get on Zoom, right? Well, first things first, first things first. I go to have sushi with this man and I park by his place and then we drive his car to the restaurant. And he is just like he doesn't stop talking about the way I look and that he likes the way that I look. And in all this, he's also talking shit about his baby mom, which at the time I thought, okay, he has a baby mom, but later I come to find out he has like five baby mamas. Anyway, he's talking shit about how crazy she is. Like all the classic red flags are just like in my face, and I'm like, yeah, I already know what type of person you are. Like I just like I continue this because I'm like, okay, I need to get my representation. And I know for a fact that he does have these relationships with agents and managers and some producers, not like big shot producers, but I think he has like some association with like one of those Lifetime movie people, but anyway, whatever. Um we're in this dinner lunch and he just doesn't stop fucking talking about how attractive he thinks that I am. And at this point I start to get a little bit frustrated because we're not talking about acting at all. And as he's saying all this, I ask him, I'm like, "Okay, and do you have anything to say about my acting? Because you haven't mentioned that at all." And I say that in that tone. Exactly. Like in that tone. Because he's seen my videos, like my acting videos. So he just, if you're on video, you can see my expression. But he just looks and then he looks down and then he just backs off because he's like leaning into us when he was talking to me. So he just leans back and he's like, yeah, 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 it's good. It's good. Whatever, right? He doesn't give a fuck about whether I suck or I'm the best, most talented person in the world. Like he doesn't give a fuck. So I forgot where the conversation goes, but the dinner, lunch, whatever, it's ending. We're done with our food and I tell him I'm like, "Damn, like I need to leave so I can audit your class because I my trip home is like 20 minutes and your class is starting in like 40 minutes, so I should leave now." And he's like, "What do you mean? You're gonna come to my place and audit it there?" Okay, okay. At this point, I'm like, I really don't want to get raped. Like, I don't want anything to happen to me. And I don't know what to do. I am just frozen and I'm like, at your place? Like, what do you mean? I asked him, like, what do you mean? I need to get on my laptop. And he's like, no, you don't. You just sit next to me while I'm teaching the class and you can just watch. The camera won't show you, won't show that you're there. And I'm just like, fuck. This is my second time seeing this man in person. And in my head, I'm like, I wouldn't suggest this to anybody. If anybody's ever in a similar experience, I would not recommend this at all. But I said, fuck it. I'm gonna go. So I was just like, I told him, I'm like, okay, that's fine. In my head, I'm freaking out. My heart's beating fast. I'm so scared. And we go into this man's apartment and it's messy as hell. And he's one of those toxic men that tries to weaponize astrology. And he's just like, oh, I'm a Virgo. I'm usually so neat, but somebody is staying at my place and it's so that's why it's so messy. And he's like cleaning as he's like welcoming me in or whatever. And I don't know, he just keeps yapping about being a Virgo and astrology. And, oh, and then he was also saying I'm a Taurus. He was saying that we're a perfect match and all this fucking bullshit. Like the true colors came out so quickly, so quickly. And I was just like, oh, really? Like, I'm kind of going along with it. I'm like, oh, yeah, Virgos are like this and like that. I'm fucking playing along to keep things chill. And he starts the class. I sit next to him. Nothing happens to me. Nothing happens to me. Um, he's just going about the class normally. And the class ends. And I'm just like, yeah, that was a really good class. I think I might do online as well. Um, yeah, and he just starts talking about dating a little. Like the whole time he was talking about dating. So I end up telling him, this is what I end up telling him. I'm just like, I don't even think I like men. Like I am really asexual right now. Like I'm not interested in anybody. I'm just so focused on my career. I have absolutely no drive or desire to be interested in anything remotely romantic. Like I have no energy for that, no mind at all. Like my love is acting. That's what I'm in love with. And he realizes that at that point, as I said that he has no chance, right? So his facial expression completely shifts because he's talking to me like, that he's giving me that douchebag face, kind of like smiling at me the whole time. And as soon as I say that, his smile just completely disappears. Like he just goes like, hmm, okay, where'd you park? And I'm like, oh, I parked super close. Like I could just walk there. He's like, no, I'll drive you. So he drives me to my car. And on the like 3 minute, like less than 3 minutes commute from his apartment to his car to my car, he's telling me about this movie that he's making. Terrible fucking movie. Like I saw the previews. I'm just like, because as a coach, he was actually pretty good. Like well, good. Yeah, he was good. And he had some really bad methods. Like he was really into method acting and he made his actors do, he made me do like really unhealthy things during his class. Like just terrible. Like reliving their people's personal traumas onto a script and make like he would call out people's like secrets and dramas and like I mean family dramas like in class to make people to bring people to tears for a scene. Ridiculous, super unhealthy. But other than that, he was actually a pretty good coach. And I was surprised that this movie, I mean, I'm not surprised that this movie was shit because directing and acting are completely different things. But anyway, he was talking about, I went on a rant. He was talking about this movie and he was saying that he was trying to get Zendaya to play in it and he was like talking to people so he could get Zendaya to be part of this movie. Dude, and he, yeah, like he would just like name drop a lot. And not that I don't believe that people have these relationships or that they have the ability to be close with celebrities like that or people that have that kind of power or that I could be close to. Like I don't doubt any of that. But you can just tell when somebody name drops and does it and they're just fucking full of shit. And most people in LA when they do that are full of shit. So that bitch was full of shit. So he was just talking about that whatever. And the whole time like I don't give him an iota of flirtation or interest or anything. In fact, I kind of treat him like a girly pop. Like the whole time I'm kind of treating him like a girly pop, and that's what I do with men that scare me. And I'm not like, "Hey girl," but I play dumb basically to protect myself. So, at the end, like I was just like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's so cool. Like that would be really cool to have in your movie." And we get to my car and I'm just like, it was really nice today. Thank you for the dinner. I'm definitely gonna consider your classes. And at this point, he already had my headshots booked. So that was paid for. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll meet up with so and so for the headshots. I got my first headshots for the freeze. For the freeze, I saved myself $300 because he paid for my first headshots. And I ended up getting representation. I got a manager and an agent, really good manager and agent. I got great auditions, but there was a catch. There was a catch. I could not abandon his classes. I had to keep going to this man's classes to keep my representation. And because he realized that I was not going to sleep with him, he started charging me for classes. And he didn't come through on the dietitian, on the shopping, on all the like other grandeur things that he was promising. Didn't come through at all, obviously, because I was not gonna fucking give it up. So I find a loophole into like minimizing my interactions, and I just end up taking his online classes, and that's it. So for the longest time, I only do his online classes, and at one point I start doing in person again, but he's not really like bothering me much. Like sometimes he'll have an attitude or he'll treat me a little bit different, like he'll be a little bit meaner, but sometimes he'll be nice. I mean, I'm bipolar, so I can say this, but that bitch was bipolar as fuck. And like his moods would change, and I was just unbothered. Like I didn't really care. I just wanted to keep auditioning and keep acting. And at that point, yeah, like everything was pretty okay. He didn't really bother me. Everything was fine. Things annoyed me because he would go on rants about spirituality and zodiacs and all this stuff. But fun fact, fun fact, years later, like 2 years later, 3 years later, I am at one of my jobs and I'm working with this girl that I've never seen before. She's new. And I'm just talking with her, find out she's an actor. She's actually pretty successful. She's been in a few shows, she's guest starred. She's had a lot of work, right? And so I'm asking her about acting and all this stuff. And I just mentioned that I had this coach. And I kind of briefly tell her a little bit about him. I tell her about the toxic ways of that he was doing method acting in the class. And she was like, "Watch it be my ex." And I was just like, "Your ex? What's your ex's name?" And she was like, "You tell me first." Said the name, and it was him. And we were like, "Oh my God. This is this is crazy." And she told me that he's like ruined acting for a lot of people. And I believe that like can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't been on my A game, just aware of my surroundings and my situation. Like if I was just a little young girl that was completely naive, which I was at one point, dude, I don't know. He could have done something. He could have maybe manipulated me at least a little bit and done something. And also, this guy, let me just say, he was not ugly at all. Like this was a conventionally attractive man. Like it wouldn't have been hard for him to manipulate somebody else or to have manipulated other people. So, yeah, I mean, if ugly men can do it, then so can this bitch. But yeah, that was my story with predators in Hollywood. You know, if you want to be one of them pretty girls in the pictures, you might gonna have to suck some dick to do it. I've also heard some stories in passing of dads of certain celebrities being a little bit strange, a little bit weird. One of those people being allegedly Addison Rae's dad. I had this friend who told me that she would frequent this grocery store. I don't know if it was Air One or some shit. I forgot what fucking grocery store it was. But she would frequent this grocery store and she would always see her dad there, allegedly. Allegedly. I'm gonna keep saying allegedly for this because these are not my stories and I don't know, and I'm saying names. But supposedly she was really creepy with him and like he kept like following her at some points, and this girl is like not really that much older than Addison Rae, and she would apparently witness him hitting on girls that were younger than Addison Rae and all this fucking bullshit. Allegedly. um what else? Oh, she also told me that one time she went to this party and this guy like approached her and her friend and she was like, "Hey, I work with Future and with Drake, and they want to have sex with you. If you guys are down, let me know and I can get you guys hooked up." They said no. It could have been just some scammer trying to traffic them or something, but apparently like at that concert event there was a lot of celebrities. I don't know, something like that. Alleged. This is all alleged. It might not be true, or some things are, like maybe that person did not actually work with them. But knowing the type of people that they are, I mean, yeah, you never know. Hollywood is just LA, so many predators. You won't make it here if you don't protect yourself. And the traditional route to stardom is long, and you will probably not make it. And that's just the reality. Like the way that you make it here is by either sucking dick, doing it the traditional way, and getting extremely lucky, like winning the lottery lucky. And the third is paving your own way. And the thing with that, which is what I'm working on, is that with creating your own art and not following the path that an industry has set up, and just doing your own thing, is that you might still not make it. You might still not make it. You might not reach the level of success that you want. But the virtue in that is that you don't have to sacrifice your integrity, and you have full control over the projects that you create and that you become a part of. So it's just way more fulfilling to be at this point in my life where I had path one presented to me almost immediately. And the thing about sucking dick for fame or for success, it's just like you don't even know if you're gonna get the success. Like it's probably mostly usually a scam. So even if you do get there, like your art is tainted at that point. Like, is that really like you are not really sucking dick for art? You're sucking dick for fame. And at that point, the fame itself is gonna taint your art. So it's not worth it. Not worth it at all, unless all you want is fame. And then at that point, I think there has to be some sort of character analysis that happens. But to me, fame is just never worth that type of sacrifice. And I tried the traditional route. And the thing with the traditional route, at least with acting, with auditioning, getting rep, auditioning, is that you're always most likely usually gonna get beat by the nepotism babies, or by people that have a lot of followers, or by people that have a lot more experience. And the path to that is long. Like you either get really, really lucky, or you don't make it at all. Or you do a lot of work. You could do a lot of guest stars, a lot of co-stars, a lot of small projects, and you get paid. But reaching a level of success where you can only rely on acting for income, like that's rare. That is really, really rare. A lot of people can only act for a season, and then when they're not working, they have to go back to serving or to bartending or to whatever job they had. So it's pretty unstable. The traditional path can be unstable. And again, people that have connections or more experience or more followers will get the upper hand. And that's just the way it is. Like that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to make it this way, because I think people do, but it just takes a long time. It takes a long time, and the chances are slim. So, after much deliberation and much thought, much invested thought, I decided to just do my own thing. And I'm still figuring that out. So with the podcast, that's one project. And now I definitely want to start acting again. I am so fucking eager to act, because there's nothing I love more than telling stories. And I want to make a movie. Like I want to start with short films. I want to start slow. And the thing I love about this, about paving my own way, doing my own thing, is that everything is dependent on me. And I'm more excited about the process of creating a project than I am about the outcome. Like, I do not give a fuck about the outcome because I know that I'm just going to be so passionate and so excited about the projects themselves because I'm going to be telling stories that matter and stories that are important. When I was auditioning, when I was going the traditional route, I forgot to mention this. There's so many shit projects out there. There's so many shit auditions that I got. They're so racist, so bad. I made an episode on this. I might upload my old episode onto Patreon. But yeah, they were so racist. I would get trauma stories crossing the border, getting raped, molested because I'm a woman, immigrant. I would get so many fucking stories like that weren't even accurate. The Spanish was all botched because it was written by some white person. And I don't know, like it just made me question, like, why am I doing this? And people say that if you really love it, you kind of have to take the shit projects and to eventually get the good ones, right? But I don't know. Personally, like I just don't want to play this game. Like I don't want to participate in this. Like people giving spaces to white writers that are not talented whatsoever, that are choosing stories that are not their own to tell and to not tell them well, and to basically like spit on my culture and like the accuracy, like to represent something false on TV. It's just like I don't fuck with that. Like I just don't it pisses me off. Like it really like it pisses me off. It makes me so upset. And I like if that's what I have to do to be successful and to be famous, I don't like no. I At that point I just hate it. I'm just doing like might as well be earning money, like real money and not the SAG after minimum like $200 or some shit, like $300. Might as well get a regular 9 to 5 and start making an actual salary if I'm going to do something that I hate. So, yeah, I've decided to pave my own way and do my own storytelling, write my own shit. And at that point, I'm just so invested in the process that I don't give a shit about the outcome. And to some extent, I feel like the outcome is going to be good anyway. Like, I don't really, it's funny because I don't really care about the outcome, but I have a peace in me. I have like peace of mind that it's going to be a good outcome, that it's going to resonate with the people that it needs to resonate with. Like it's going to get to the right people. And even if it doesn't reach the largest audience possible, I know because it's going to be out in the world, people are going to see it and people are going to connect with it. Like, for example, I've talked about this little short film before, but back in 2020, I made a 5-minute short film about body dysmorphia and it's up on my YouTube channel. It's close to like 30,000 views, which is not crazy, but it's decent. And it has a lot of engagement. A lot of people resonate with it. And to me, like that's enough. Like for people to connect with something, to spread hope, to relate, to feel seen, like that to me is fulfilling enough. Like I love that I made that movie like 4 years ago and it's getting a little bit more traction again. And I just love seeing comments. I love seeing that. Like that's what makes me feel fulfilled. So right now I'm just in that process of I have my podcast. This is giving me that creative fix that I need, but I want more. I want to make movies because that's my main passion. And so I'm in that process. I am not rich, so I gotta save up money for it. I gotta pay off all my fucking credit card debt that I got when I was going slightly manic. So I have to take care of certain things first and then start investing in that, which is in LA, it's really not hard. Like all you need is time and money. All you need is time and money to make a movie and the right people, the right community, which in LA is just it's right in front of me. It's right in front of me. So I just need to work on that so I can do what I love. And at this point, I'm really burnt out from bartending, but I think I kind of want a regular job that I can tolerate and like so I can fund what I love. In case if I don't become rich off of what I love, I'm still stable because doing art, getting to live my art, to create something beautiful and meaningful, that is what means the world to me. And if I ever get famous off of it, like I already know that that's gonna come with a whole new batch of problems. And I don't really fuck with the lack of privacy that fame gets you. So it depends what kind of famous you are because I feel like a lot of famous people are not are extremely successful in A-list, but they're not like pop star famous. Like, I don't know, who can I think of? You know, like directors and producers, I feel like they're more low key. So that would be nice. Honestly, that would be nice. I think recognition is alluring, it's attractive, but I don't know. I feel like as the longer that I've been here, the more that I've matured, the less attractive fame becomes. But anyway, that's a story for another episode. I kind of went on a long rant because I forgot to share my other creep story. This is so long. I said that my episodes were not going to be long, but I'll be brief with this one. And this one's actually probably more juicy than the first one. So this person is somebody who's pretty old. This guy's really old. He is the daddy, because we were talking about daddies earlier. He is the daddy of a very famous singer, of a very famous female singer. And I met him when I was working at this restaurant. And I had a terrible day the night before. I had a terrible night. I had dealt with blatant racism for the first time in my life the night before. And I was super hungover the next day. I was at work, it was early. And I'm serving this table, like this old man and this other guy. And I'm serving them and everything's fine. And this guy starts talking about spirituality and whatever with me. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, I kind of like the way he's talking. He's very charismatic. And midway through their lunch, a coworker tells me, do you know who that is? And I'm just like, girl, I don't know. I don't know who that is. Like, I don't know. I'm not easily starstruck by people. That's a story for another day too. I don't want to go on another rant. But she told me, she's like, oh, that's so and so's daddy. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And good thing she told me because when I go back to the table, he asked me, he was like, how do you feel about so and so, like his daughter? And I was like, I don't really listen to her. Like, I don't like her or dislike her. I think she's very talented, but I'm not a fan. And good thing my coworker told me because I was like, oh my God, I think she's great, whatever, right? He was like, yeah, that's my daughter, and whatever. So he starts, red flag number one, right? He starts talking about how famous his daughter is, whatever. And I just think it's harmless because this man is old as hell. But I grab his information because he starts talking shit about white people. And I'm just like, I can get with this. I can get with this conversation. So we're just talking shit about white people, especially because of what I had experienced the night before. This was so good for, like, this was just making me feel very comforted. And that's when we get each other's information. And he tells me that he has this whole community of creatives and young people. And he invites me to this get together at some park. And I end up going and I meet all these people that are my age or younger, like guys and girls, a bunch of older people too. And they start even doing a live podcast in this park. And vibes are good. Like things are pretty okay. Up until up until he starts telling me that he wants to help me in my career. He wants to help me make movies. He wants to help me write a poetry book. He wants to do all these. He just starts offering the world like the previous guy. And that's when my lights, my flashing warning lights start to flash and I'm like, okay, cool. I already this might be iffy territory, but let me just chill. Let me not make any assumptions. And he kind of, I think what men do is that they try and test things out, like how you're gonna respond. And when he started promising me all these things, I'm like, oh my God, like, that would be great. I would love to help you with your projects, whatever. And it's funny because when we have future meetings, like he mentions this like once or twice very casually. He starts talking about how much he wants to get a 26-year-old pregnant. This is a man that's like 70s, 80s. Let's just keep it in that range. 70s, 80s. And he just casually mentions he wants to get a 26-year-old pregnant like once or twice. Guess how old I am at the time? By the way, yeah, so I ignore it. I completely ignore it. And then a third meeting comes, and this is the last time I see this man. A third meeting comes, and he just starts yapping about how he hates gay people, gay men specifically. He starts talking about shit about Kaylani and her being bisexual and that she's still married a man and that she's not really bisexual, that it's all in bisexuals' heads. And which I'm like, girl, girl, okay. I don't know. When people start talking, start hate speeching, like actually hate speeching, if speeching, I don't know if that's a word, but when people start talking shit like that, I can't help but not take it seriously because it's just so ridiculous. It's so outlandish. But he starts talking about shit about bisexual people, starts talking about how if a gay man ever hits on him, he's gonna beat the shit out of him and kill him. And what's crazy is that I'm glad he told me this because I was so close to introducing one of my gay friends to him because my gay friend makes really good music. And I was this close to introducing them. But yeah, yeah. I mean, not that my gay friend would ever hit on him because I mean that bitch is pretty much like 3 feet in under. But um, yeah. I mean, still just the homophobia, obviously. So he starts talking about this. He starts talking about how trans women are not women and how they are sick in the head. Like all this fucking hate just spewing out of this man's mouth that preaches to all his daughter's fans and all the people that follow him that peace and love are necessary, that everybody should love each other and namaste and all this fucking bullshit. Like that is the same man with two completely different rhetorics. And then he starts with the getting a 26-year-old pregnant again bullshit. And I tell him straight up, I'm like, bitch, you're too old. Like, I don't say it like that. Tell him, I'm just like, don't you think you're a little bit too old to be having children? And he's like, no, no, like men are meant to spread their seed and blah, blah, blah. 26 is fine. And I'm just like, why 26? And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. Like, he can't really make any counter arguments because also with the whole homophobic shit, he when he was saying that he would kill a man if a man hit on him, I'm just like, I asked him, I'm like, so you think that whenever you're in the presence of gay men, you are potentially in danger? Is that how you feel? And he's like, yeah, yeah, like they just like harass you and they get you like if just being in their presence, like, no, no, I don't like that. And I'm just like, and after he says that, I tell him, I am a woman in a room, in a small room, in a small space with two men, because it was him and another guy, alone with two men. I don't think homosexuality is a problem here. I think this is a man problem. If we want to talk about real danger, the only person in danger in any situation right here is me, especially with that language. And he just stayed quiet. He was like, well, he didn't stay quiet. He was just like, oh, well, well, and then he would change the subject. So, with the whole 26 getting 26-year-old pregnant, I asked him why 26. He didn't have an answer. And then I was just like, how young would you go? And he's like, as long as they're legal, as long as they're legal. So I told him, so somebody who's still in high school, who's just turned 18, you think that's fine? What you would attempt to have a romantic relationship with somebody that age? And he was like, yeah, I mean, age is just a number. And then he started talking about how women don't are not appreciative, and how he helped, like he said that he was like dating other women and that he helped them publish poetry books, and that when they didn't give him a real relationship, that means that they were just using him, and he was just a pawn because of his position. Like they just used him. And I asked him, I'm like, "Oh, like that's really unfortunate. That sucks, but did you ever establish your expectations that you were expecting a relationship in exchange for this favor? Or did you just assume that?" He had no answer. He had no answer. So I never spoke to that man again. Um, there's still some level of like connection because I think he just pretended that nothing happened. But like social media, everything's still there. So a lot of these things I'm probably not gonna post, but um yeah, like things were kind of civil, I guess. Like I ended up leaving and I blocked one of them because like that guy, the other guy that was there, like he was just like listening and ass kissing him and me. And I'm like, this bitch is just an ass kisser. Like all these people that are around these other people that have connections with celebrities, like everybody is just a fucking motherfucking ass kisser. Like they're not like I don't know, like that shit just annoys me so fucking much. It's just ridiculous. My eyes couldn't roll like further back in my head because of how stupid this entire world and culture is. It's just so fucking ridiculous. But anyway, I leave, never talk to that man again. And then I asked myself if I fumble that back because I could have just manipulated the situation. I could have just been like, listened, not said anything, or kept it mild. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't feel regret. I just kind of wonder if I fumbled it. But at the same time, these people don't really have any real power. Like, why would this artist, like his daughter, why would she want to help me? She doesn't even know me. She doesn't know me. How many more people does she have that she actually wants to help? That I've actually done something for her, that actually have relationships with her. It's just I rather pave my own path, and if I'm going to receive help, I rather receive help that people that truly believe in my creativity, my talent, and who I am. Because I'm not against receiving help, but receiving help from nasty perverted men that have connections here and there, bitch, please, bitch, bye. Like, ugh, like LA, like that scene in LA is just so rancid. It's so disgusting. And don't get me wrong, because as a transplant, like I have no right to speak on actual LA culture. Like I love the city. The city has saved my life, literally saved my life. And the friends that I have here that are LA locals are some of the most amazing people I've ever met. But when it comes to that transplant culture, that celebrity culture, clout chasing culture, it's just, it's everything that I hate because it's just misogyny, homophobia, materialism. And I'm a material girl, don't get me wrong, but this is a whole other fucking level. And it's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. But yeah, guys, that concludes today's episode. The sun is like hitting my face. I don't know how it looks on the camera. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit more of a story time, very crazy, very messy. But I just want to mention one more time, allegedly. All these stories are allegedly. So do with that what you want. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was something I hesitated doing, but I think it was worth telling, especially if you're someone who's considering moving to LA, taking part of this industry, whether it's music, acting, whatever it may be. Just be careful. Watch your back. Protect yourself. Love yourself because not everything is what it seems. And fame is not really worth sacrificing yourself for. Like nothing is worth sacrificing your integrity, your authenticity, your self-respect. Absolutely nothing. So, yeah. Those were my takeaways from these experiences. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.